That's 1-800-771-6414.
You are listening to the show that is all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. You're listening to Get Down to Business. We are powered by Tandem HR, and we've got some great advice for you. We are here in studio with Pete Sikorski from Get Fresh Produce, and we've got a great rest of the show lined up. We've got Mayor Sherman after the break, and we're also talking with Chris Everett of Everett College Funding. And finally, as I mentioned at the end of the show, I'm talking about managing your business financial records. You won't want to miss a minute of it, and you could call in with your questions at 312-642-5600, 312-642-5600. Pete, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Shalom. Appreciate it.
Fantastic. So let's jump right into it. Those listeners of ours that are avid listeners, and I know that you guys are out there, know that you came on last time and you talked a little bit about your operation at Get Fresh Produce. But as a refresher, do you mind telling our listeners what you do every day?
Yeah, absolutely. Our company affects the vast majority of people in Chicagoland every day, even if they don't know it. We are a mid-sized distributor of fruit and vegetables to restaurants and retail stores. So if you're eating at places like Chipotle, Portillo's, you're eating food that is coming from my warehouse.
And it's funny, you mentioned last time, and this is absolutely true. Most people probably have never heard of Get Fresh Produce, and all of a sudden, they're going to start seeing Get Fresh Produce on different trucks. So you're the most unrecognizable business until people listen to Pete Sikorski on Get Down to Business. So, Pete, a lot of your business is logistics. You're the director of operations. You're involved in a little bit of everything every single day. I think you told us about some of those challenges, both in attracting talent, which we just discussed with CJ. But a lot of your business is logistics, and we have a lot of listeners in a lot of different businesses. But to you, what is logistics? What is logistics in business?
Well, to me, logistics is getting the right product to your customer across the entire supply chain. So it's the process of tying together of a customer need, and then where does that need originate? How do you store that need? How do you get it to the customer?
Let me ask you a strange question. Is the customer's need generally more clear to you than it is to the customer? My guess is that often you can appreciate ahead of time what a customer needs and wants, and make sure that you're fulfilling and doing a good job, because customer service is what it's all about.
Yeah, there's definitely, when you talk about the need to have inventory on hand in order to meet the customer's need, there's a ton of anticipation in there. So you start to get into things like warehouse management systems and so forth. How do you predict what that customer is going to need? And that's a big piece of our business. If we over-anticipate what the customer needs, then we've got produce that's going to go bad. If we under-anticipate, then somebody's not getting their produce. So the forecasting aspect of logistics is a huge issue for us.
And have you found technology that's been able to assist in the human side of logistics and forecasting and management?
Without a doubt. We, from a technology standpoint, feel that we're doing some things that are different from other people. So our drivers carry handheld tablet devices with them every day, and that not only lets us know where they're at in terms of using GPS, but it also lets us know when they might be running behind, and we can call a customer up ahead of time. It helps us backtrack a lot of what goes on a day-to-day basis. So when I open up my dashboard, I can see where all my trucks are throughout Illinois, Indiana, Wisconsin, and we can know what the hot button issues are with customers that day and make sure that my people in dispatch are making sure that we're hitting the mark.
Interesting. And does that technology also help you? Probably a lot of your business is in fleet management too. You've got a lot of vehicles.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about how technology helps with that process as well.
Well, one of the big things for us is on a heavy day, I'll have 120 trucks on the road, and making sure that the business is there to support those guys when they're out there. They leave the warehouse. Our drivers have the toughest job because they're subject to the outside world and what can happen in terms of safety while driving. We actually have some driver technology that surrounds cameras in our trucks too, when we want our drivers to be safe. And so looking at our dashboard, it lets us see where they're at and what they're doing. But from the other standpoint, too, we're trying to protect the business. So if our guy's getting in an accident, something unusual happens with the truck, we actually have some technology that'll show us what the driver was doing before that happened and what was going on outside the truck. And in a couple of instances, that's really kind of pulled us out of the fire in terms of things that might have been considered our fault, but were really the result of somebody else's reckless driving.
Wow, interesting. And that probably allows you to support your team in a way that probably just even a few years ago wasn't possible.
Yeah, absolutely. It continues to kind of foster a environment of just safety and meaningful safety. Hey, we have a responsibility to the public to have our drivers and our trucks be safe. We have a responsibility just within the logistics end of food procurement to deliver safe produce. And the visibility that we get through our technology really helps ensure that we are meeting those needs.
Well, obviously you have customers that you're out there to please, and you've got employees that are, and their safety that's a top priority and a responsibility that you have. So it sounds like technology is a big part of this, and logistics is an important role that every company. When do you think you sort of had this awakening that we need to do more? We need to invest in the technology. Did you realize that early on in the job, or was that a recent occurrence?
Well, the fortunate part about Get Fresh Produce is it's always been through the ownership and through the operational side, one of the cutting edge companies, at least in our industry. By no means are we as sophisticated as an Amazon.com where they've got a totally automated warehouse, but nevertheless, we are, in terms of data, using information, providing customers the information that they need about products. We've always been to the cutting edge side of things. So for me, it was really stepping in and just help continue to focus that and make sure that Get Fresh Produce can be differentiated. I truly think that when you look at other cities that have their own Get Fresh Produces, which, the story replays itself in every major metro in the United States with a family-owned produce company, that's what allows us to differentiate ourselves as our technology. So it's just continuing to foster that entrepreneurial spirit around technology and making sure that the investments are going to have a good return on investment.
And speaking of technology and investment and innovation, is there any chance that Get Fresh Produce will have drones out anytime soon?
Drones. That would be very, very interesting. I don't know. Check me. That's a little outside, I think, the 3-year strategic scope right now. But incredibly interesting.
It'll be interesting. Last time when you came on the air, you mentioned that Get Fresh Produce was hiring in a few positions. Do you have any openings these days?
We do, yes. Our primary need is always commercial vehicle drivers. And when you talk about a segment of the economy in terms of from a job perspective, people with commercial driver's licenses are becoming harder and harder to find. It's actually driving the cost of transportation up. To get something from California to Chicago costs 30% more than it did a year and a half ago because the average truck driver is 55 years old, and there's not a whole lot of people going into that job. But you can make a very good living doing that, and so particularly commercial drivers is something that we always need. And then always looking for good people that understand produce as well, because there's not a whole lot of people that kind of have that produce gene in them. So
Sure.
If you're a produce person, we'd like to talk to you.
Interesting. Well, in a moment, we'll share that contact information so people can get in touch with you, talk a little bit more about logistics, talk about innovation, technology, entrepreneurship, and, of course, those job opportunities. And I have a feeling our next guest will have a thing or two to say about the subject. We're going to be talking with Mayor Sherman, who's also sort of in the business, and he's going to, I'm sure, have some more advice for us. Pete, how can people get in touch with you?
Get in touch with us by email at info@getfreshproduce.com. You can also check us out on our website, www.getfreshproduce.com. Email me directly, Sikorski, Sikorski, @getfreshproduce.com, or even just stop in and see us. We're never too busy to talk to someone that wants to walk in and learn a little bit about our business and learn about possibly working for us.
Fantastic. Once again, we're talking with Pete Sikorski of Get Fresh Produce. We talked with CJ Seastad earlier from Inside Talent, and lots of great advice about logistics, about business, about entrepreneurship, and, of course, about attracting talent. And we're going to continue that discussion after the break. We're talking with Mayor Sherman, followed by Chris Everett of Everett College Funding. Great conversation we always have about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. Get Down to Business is brought to you in part by Everett Wealth Solutions, a registered investment advisor and financial planning firm, a fiduciary advisor that helps you create your personal wealth. You can find them at everettwealthsolutions.com or call 708-771-7777, 708-771-7777. Get Down to Business is also powered by Tandem HR, your solution center. You could call them at 630-928-0510. After the break, we are talking all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. You're listening to Get Down to Business, and I'm your host, Shalom Klein. Don't touch that dial. We are all about small business on this show.
We live in